In 2017, the Black Expat released a series of video interviews with Black folks living their cross-cultural lives in the Netherlands and Canada. And why we always get a ton of questions following a feature, it was these two, at the time, who probably sparked the most. Everyone wanted to know about the guys who then had that one soul food spot, otherwise known as Staring at Jacob's in Amsterdam. I'm pretty sure it was the featured chicken and waffles that showed up in the trailer that had people hooked. If you've seen the series, you know I'm talking about Noah Tucker, the American with the hard-to-miss Brooklyn accent, and Tony Joseph, the chilled-out Brit who hails from London. These accomplished chefs have worked in Michelin kitchens individually around the world before a chance opportunity over a decade ago led to this business partnership. They've opened restaurants, launched books, and are continually pushing the boundaries in the hospitality industry. It's been a few years since we've chatted, but they're still at it, stretching their culinary game. I talk about it all and more with Noah and Tony. How are you guys doing today?
We good. Well, I can speak. Well, actually, we always speak for the second person. I'm good. It's funny because we spend so much time together. It's like, you know, everyone says, "Oh, how you doing?" "Oh, no, we good, man." We always kind of say it for the both of us. But no, I'm good. I can't complain, to be honest with you. Even though the corona madness is still in effect, you know, I don't allow it to get me down. I don't allow it to annoy me. I don't allow it to affect me. We still moving. I have to, you know what I mean?
So we know Tony's good. Noah, how you doing?
I'm feeling great. It's hard to, mess up my mood. I don't give that to a lot of people. I don't give that energy to a lot of people. It's real private. I don't worry. That's one of them keys to life. Like, don't give that card out easily for somebody to mess up your mood or your movement. And I understand, Corona's big, but you just got to pivot. We kind of just went digital.
I mean, y'all already hit on it. So that was kind of the early questions I wanted to ask y'all. Being in hospitality and obviously running your company, Fresh Hospitality, how has the Rona impacted both of y'all?
The Rona. Well, okay, so I think on a personal note, it kind of, I don't know, it puts you back in it kind of put me in check in a strange way, right? Like what's important, what's not important, kind of trims that fat for you, whether you want it to happen or not. And I don't know, I like being humbled. I like that feeling. I do. I admit it. That's part of traveling, right? Don't you become more humble automatically when you travel? Because you don't know really what's going on. So you kind of got to bow down a little bit to the situation and, until you get acclimated. So I think that's what this was, right? This was like, oh, how do I reacclimate? How do we get used to this again? How do we reposition so we can feel like this is the normal every day? Business took a different range. We're partners in a restaurant called Yerba. Mm-hmm. That's the new venture. It's been there for about 2.5 years. All vegan tasting menu, almost like on its head from what you guys experienced last time. Mm-hmm. And we'll get into that and how that affected Amsterdam, funny enough. Mm-hmm. And then we went digital. We created an app. We're part of an app right now, a global one that we started to launch for the restaurant sector. Mm-hmm. Still did a cookbook, did a TV show, working on the second cookbook. We pushed. As Tony said, we pushed. It's hard to fuck up our movement, our energy. Word. But it's okay. I think that's why, right? Find balance. Find balance. Don't let the narrative control you, I guess.
And so for the people who don't know, and I already alluded to it, could either of you just give people a brief taste, even though you just dropped a whole bunch of projects, right. what Fresh Hospitality is for those who don't know?
Hit that, Tone.
Well, first and foremost, we're chefs. That's the key principle of the actual company in itself. And from that, we kind of stay in our own lane. So anything that is HoReCa related, we'll touch. So that goes with consulting, as Noah said, app, which is obviously Horeca based as well, or sorry, hospitality based. Any consulting that we do, that we go in from restaurants, whether it's hotels, from mum and pop to conglomerates, whatever it touches on in regards to hospitality, we'll deal with it. You know, as chefs, we've learned to grow within this industry, and not only as cooks but as businessmen. So whatever it kind of takes us to do hospitality-wise, we'll get into it. I mean, as I said, I mean, the last project we're doing right now is a book, and it's a cocktail book. It's based off the first book which we did for High Cuisine. So we kind of parallel a book next to that. The first one was High Bites, and this one's kind of a cocktail-based book. So it's High Cocktail. So we kind of.
You don't know about High Cuisine, Tony.
I was going to ask about that, but go ahead and drop that knowledge about High Cuisine.
So this is what happened was, I think the last time you guys came, we were in Jacobs. We had Jacobs and a couple other venues.
Yeah.
We sold all of that. We took about 1.5 years off or so. We just wanted to kind of, I don't know, we was going crazy. We had like 4 restaurants. Mm-hmm. We were grinding really hard, and nothing's wrong with that, but we felt like we were more concerned with the work than the project in a strange way. And we had a luxury moment where we could be like, okay, so everything is working. Is this really what we want? And, you know, as chefs, as owners, we wanted to be restaurateurs and be a part of a bunch of different venues that are working and, you know, financially kind of, you know, producing. And I think it happened. And then we were like, all right, is this really what we want to do? We just want to run around and check on people in the restaurants that we own. Like, I'm not into that. So, and also that's all we were thinking about was just like food and work. And it was like, that's also not healthy. You need to think about a couple of things in your life, right? You need to have hobbies. You need to have, right, like other interests. So we sold everything, and we took 1.5 years off. In that time, we built a concept that we were working on called High Cuisine. Mm-hmm. And we also opened Yerba Restaurant with our partners, Sally and Walter. And the concept for High Cuisine is basically we go to their smart shops out here that sell alternative medicine, should we say, right? And a variety of them, like 3,000 different types. So we went to them, those shops, found some like idealistic, you know, drugs that, you know, just do different things to you. And on a medicinal level, on a spiritual level. And then we took our kind of knowledge from, you know, our pedigree of cooking and mixed it with caviar and langoustines and oysters and made a tasting menu out of it and created this concept where basically instead of drinking wine or having alcohol, you have all these different types of drugs that mix psychedelics, cannabis, canna, a Syrian rue, a huge range of it, everything microdosed. And you have this experience called High Cuisine. So we went out there and we pulled it off. We actually produced a TV show and it's out still right now. It's been out for about 1 year plus, maybe.
Plus.
So obviously both of you you're in the Netherlands. Yeah. How was that concept received?
It is perceived, well, to be honest, we treat it as, you know, research. This is journalism. We're under the factor of we're exploring kind of new horizons with food and drugs and the mixture of those. You know, I think when, you know, I explained it and what people are hearing is weed and psychedelics. But if we really go back to how we even eat right now, right? Let's look at some really common ingredients like oregano, garlic, onions,
cinnamon.
You know, all of the nightshade family. All of it is based off medicinal use, right? Like people didn't start to eat garlic because it tastes good, originally raw. It's because it's medicinal, right? It's like nature's antibiotic.
Yeah.
So we kind of, we just pushed it further. You know, what's to say that we still shouldn't be exploring these other herbs. Now, mind you, everything is natural. Everything is organic that we use. There's nothing manufactured. So we're going back to the same honeypot that our ancestors went to, right? Like we're just looking for earth for different things. So some of them are antidepressant. Some of them are dream herbs. Some of them make you feel euphoric. Some of them are sedatives, right? So they're out there right now, right? Like we have versions of that we've created into aspirins, but the pharmaceutical companies are something that we really trust. So if they say this is for depression, cool, take that. If they say this is for a headache, cool, take that. Stomach, take that. Well, there's a whole different range of natural stuff that's out there. But it's considered to be really taboo. And that's usually the wall that when people hit, it's like, oh, I'm not dealing with that. Sorry. So what is the most, least taboo thing in the world? Food. It's the most common thread that attaches all humanity, right? Even if you don't like somebody's culture, like genuinely, you'll eat their food.
Right.
Dead ass, right? Like you'll be like, yo, I don't fuck with Russians. You will tear some caviar and vodka up. Right. Nice. You know what I'm saying? Like what? Of course you will, So I think there's something to be said for that was our intro, and we treated it as such. And then instead of coming across it like you see a lot of the kind of like, fake shows on Netflix and the other ones where it's like, get high, la, la, la. This isn't that. We're really coming at you from a certain pedigree. We're doing a tasting menu for you. It's hyper controlled. We're giving you full research. We're going to the guys who grow it. We're going to the people who manufacture it, who sell it, who deal with it, who test it. And we went through, an array of drugs and an array of chefs, and we did this all in the Netherlands. And then we videotaped everything and polished it up super crispy clean and got it on, video and put it on TV. So
I was just gonna say, I love what you said about kind of going back to traditional and authentic. And it's weird because I was having this thought earlier today, actually about medicine, because most people know I'm first-gen American. My family is from sub-Saharan Africa, very much grew up in Cameroon. And I was thinking so much about how there's so many things that we see naturally grown, which people would use, like my grandmother would use and my aunts would use and uncles.
That was like common.
Right. But then until it gets crushed up and it's sold by a pharmaceutical company, all of a sudden we're seeing all this marketing that says, oh, this will help X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, that's that leaf that used to grow behind my grandma's house. We just plucked that thing and put it in some water for like 2 days and drink it or whatever. And so, yeah, I think that really resonates.
Yeah, but the problem with that is, as we all know, it's always based on money. Money always comes into the factor. It's how can we market this to make us money? Even though we know that this hardly costs anything, we need to know how to make money from this. And that is mainly always the problem.
Yeah.
And nobody actually takes note of that. And it's like, why would you always have to listen to the pharmaceuticals about any drug just because they say you have to use it? It's like these drugs that we use are tried and tested. They've been used for hundreds and hundreds of years. From tribes from Africa, from Central America. These guys aren't wrong. They live off the land. So it's like, why can't we follow suit?
Absolutely.
And because there's a monetary effect always added to this, it always breaks down the barrier of it.
So I'm curious, do you think, and I know, obviously, like I said, you guys are both in the Netherlands. Do you think that if you had been somewhere else, you would have been able to get the same concept as successful off the ground?
No, definitely not.
I do. Now I do.
Okay. I want to hear the for and the against. Go ahead.
In regards to what I achieved in the Netherlands, or in regards to the projects that we've achieved? Because if we're talking about what I would have achieved in the UK, no, definitely not.
No. I thought you were talking about high cuisine.
Well, no, about high cuisine, but I actually do like that point overall. So let's look at high cuisine. Do you think you'd be able to do it outside the Netherlands?
I think in certain countries, but the accessibility of the ingredients is crazy here. But I think if you are out, maybe, I don't know, that's a hard question. Well, it's a hard question because, like, I'd be like, oh, we can do it up in Oregon. You know what Portland looks like right now? I wouldn't be doing shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Right. So like, we wouldn't be doing any of that nonsense, like nothing. So I don't know. I think, the fact is no, because we did it here and we didn't pull it off anywhere else. Okay. And it's not like we didn't shop it. Right. So the Netherlands is the one that actually, helped conceive it. They helped, kind of feed it, and they ended up showing it. So I guess not. But the girth of the hospitality, fresh hospitality, hell no, I couldn't get away with this in New York.
Tell me more.
Simple economics, right? A restaurant here costs you a couple $100,000. Mm-hmm. A restaurant in New York costs you over $1 million.
And
right, economics.
And up to this point, how many restaurants have you both collectively been part of?
6, 7. How many, Tom?
Yeah, you hit it on the number 6. Yeah. But that's down to ownership. But in regards to working in restaurants, it's endless.
Or opening.
Yeah, opening and working them is endless.
I'd say 6 is work owned, right? Like that's 6 is work owned. But now, actually, funny enough, there's only one restaurant. We actually don't work in it. We own it, and we're partners of it. And the other managing partners are the ones who run it, right? So, like, we took a huge pivot. Yeah, but I'm glad we did, though, because now everything that we have is digital. I mean, and that's where you have to be right now. That's the space that you're required to be in. You have to be comfortable in, on the line. And that's, weirdly enough, that's where we started to pivot, right? We were like, yo, we're missing this, we're missing that. Then we helped create an app for the hospitality industry, which is running right now. It's global. It's running from the Middle East all the way to Florida.
So let me ask you that follow-up question. Did y'all make the pivot? I'm presuming by the breadth of the stuff you've listed, did you make the pivot well before Corona? That was a decision. That's what I was going to say.
3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah, we kind of saw it coming, to be honest with you.
Well, you know what it was? We started to look at like, okay, as our portfolio for our hospitality company, where are we very short? Like, where are we not showing representation? And it was online, right? Like tangible items, we were murdering it. You could come into our spaces, we would have events, parties, that was fine. But like online, because we didn't really care, we weren't creating any type of like passive revenue or even like just, just critical thinking that was past the point of just like, here's food, this is representing us. Yeah. So we were like, how can we do that? How can we, what's still in because we really do believe staying in your lane, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but we just were like, yo, let's make that lane mad wide, right? Like, that's how we can deal with it. So anything that had to do with the hospitality industry, we agreed that like, yo, we'll touch. And that was from a book to an app, right? Like we were like, forget this. Let's just think bigger. How do we stretch ourselves, and how do we get, how do we represent ourselves and also start to create shit that's forever, right? Like restaurants come and go. Yeah. TV shows don't come and go. That shit is there. It's always trackable. It's always sellable. It's always another piece. So. Then we did a book following the show, and it was called High Cuisine Bites. It was basically muses or small bites that you could do in your house, 20 recipes. They all had different drugs in them. So if you want to have a party, instead of everybody having alcohol, let's have a little psychedelics. Everybody could take a little bite, microdosed. Now, 5 years ago, it sounded, because we've been working on this for 6 years or so, like a long time. Now, when I say it, it doesn't sound so crazy anymore. Right? So it's also really fun to be part of that changing narrative of how people perceive drugs, right? No one would ever think about doing psychedelics, but now it's known to be an antidepressant if you microdose. Microdosing is a thing.
Right.
It's a thing. It's a fucking thing. So it's really interesting to be pushing that narrative unbeknownst to the rest of the world in our own little corner our way to do it was not through eating crappy food and kind of struggling through it. We were like, nah, man, if you're eating mushrooms or this or that, why not just flavor profile it and put it with something that it goes with? So then it's super enjoyable. And that's the memory you have. And that's how you walk into this. It's really Not just, because listen, everybody on this planet does some type of drug. Caffeine, sugar, nicotine, it doesn't, I don't care. You do something. And all of those drugs, right, especially those primary ones that are at the top of the food chain, they're all stronger than any drug we're talking about. And they're all way more harmful than any drug we're dealing with.
Right.
So I think we just put it really into perspective, knock some taboo down. And also, I think for brown people, right, like, show up.
Yeah.
Show up. If you got an idea, most likely it's banging.
Yeah.
Try it, push it, go for it.
Yeah.
Right? Like, support your own idea, support your own, creativity. And I think that's the benefit of Tone and I, right? Like, we can really bounce ideas off each other and get the ball rolling between the two of us, and then find people who are also into it and create this narrative. And maybe it is easier over here doing that, right? Because it's Tone and I. I don't know another Black New Yorker out here who is in hospitality. I swear to you.
Same words. UK also. Yeah. It's
Do you? I don't.
No.
I'm just going to say Amsterdam, but I know it's past Amsterdam, but I can speak for the million people that are in Amsterdam, that it is singular in whom we are. Right. So that's bananas, that thought.
And that's big. So it's like we have a lane. We might as well take advantage of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Some folks don't know this, but how did y'all even find each other? Like, I know y'all have been working together for a long time, but how did y'all even initially find each other?
Yeah. So basically what happened was I had a friend of mine who was a recruiter. And I remember Dave. Yeah. I had a friend of mine who was a recruiter, and I was at a restaurant, and I was literally dying of death with the chefs that I had. I was just in and out. They were coming in and out. They'd last days with me, and I needed a number two basically, so I could have somebody that could bounce off me, work with me, and allow me to be off, because I literally was working 7 days a week. So he sent me a copy of Noah's CV, and when I read it, Noah Gitzlitz Tucker, I just assumed some Jewish boy from Brooklyn. Yeah, so the funny thing is, the day he arrived into the restaurant, somebody called me and said, "Oh, there's Noah here." Walks out into the restaurant. We both looked at each other, like, "Noah?" He's like, "Tony?" It's like, I never expected a Black guy to walk through, because obviously being in the Netherlands, I didn't expect it, especially somebody not from here.
Yep.
So basically what happened was, he did a couple of days with me. We kind of clicked. Worked really, really well, and then he was my number two for a year in the restaurant, and from that, Noah then left, convinced me to leave a few months later, because obviously he wanted to get into consultancy. He knew that there was a possibility of us owning a restaurant, because my initial thought when I first came here, I came here in 2004. I actually wanted to open up a restaurant, but I didn't find anybody that was compatible with me. So basically what happened was I just said, look, I'm just going to be a chef. I'm going to work till I retire as a chef. I'm not going to even pursue it, because I didn't find anybody that I knew that I could work with. And then lo and behold, Noah came along and literally convinced us to get into the restaurant game, bought a restaurant, and kind of it's history from there. And we've kind of been working together for 12 years. So yeah, it's been good. It's been fun. We've managed to accomplish a lot, and we've done some really, really interesting stuff. So yeah, and we keep going. That's the thing. You know what I mean? The beauty of it is, and we always said it from day one, it's business. It ain't personal, it ain't friends, it's business.
Business.
And that's where a lot of people fail, because they take it personal. Like, I won't allow him to fuck my day up, and he won't allow my day to be fucked up. At the end of the day, we're both alphas. The only thing that's going to happen is we're going to fight. Then we fight, it's over. So it's like, we have somebody, we both have somebody that we can literally work well together with, be able to do stuff, and, not get offended by the other person, because that's the problem. You get offended by somebody, you work with them for a amount of time, and it's like, you get bored with people. And it's like, we've been very lucky that, from this, we've become friends. Our families are gelled together,
Yeah.
We know each other in and out, and it's been nearly 13 years. So it's gone from strength to strength, yeah.
Wow. I mean, I guess that kind of begs the question, and especially you telling that story. What if some of the challenges you've just seen, Tony, even just being a Black chef in the Netherlands? Are there challenges that you've seen, and as well as being an expat?
No, you know why? From a very, 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 very young age, I never ever allowed my skin color to affect me in any way. My thought process always was, if I got a job, if I went for a job and I didn't get the job, I wasn't the one that went, I didn't get the job because I was Black. My thought was, I didn't get the job because they thought I wasn't good enough. The next person's got to think I'm good and he's going to pay me more. And that's how I've always lived my life. So I've never allowed any of that stuff to affect me. And I won't allow it to affect me. Like I always say, I see a gap, I'll make it wider. That's the difference. I never, ever, ever once would say, oh, no, I didn't do this because I'm not going to do this. No. I'm just going to do it. And if I fail at doing it, that's down to me, not down to anybody else. That's down to me.
Yeah.
And it's worked for me. It's worked for me. And I can't complain in regards to how things have gone throughout my whole life, even through my career in the UK, you know. It's a lot different, especially growing up in the era that I grew up as a chef. There wasn't that many Black chefs within the industry. I never allowed that to be a difficulty. It didn't bother to me. I actually I never even saw that as an issue. I just thought, I want to be a chef. I want to be the best chef that I possibly can be. How do I get to be that? And it was just basically going through, working with some great people, and not allowing my skin color to even allow me to be held back, you know. So for me, I've been very, very fortunate. The people that I've worked with and the choices that I've taken when I've taken jobs, that also helps. Gotcha. And, you know, I've made sure that no matter what I do, my integrity is always held in place. Okay. So with that, I think I kind of want to make a pivot because, you know, it is 2020 and this has been a wild year. What are we entering, September at this point? Yeah. And it has been a roller coaster year. I've just been really interested just hearing from both of you. Obviously, once again, Noah, you being from the States, Tony, you being from the UK, just sort of seeing everything that's been popping off. I know, obviously, in the US, like I don't even know if I want to say the latest trigger because it was George Floyd, but now we on Jacob Blake. So just what do you know, as I think as Black men and kind of seeing what's going on, what has been sort of your thoughts kind of looking in as far as the US is concerned, and even stuff that you're seeing living in Europe? Personally, I just think America on the whole is just bananas right now. And the shit that you see going on. I mean, I've been very fortunate within my life that I've never had to witness that type of stuff growing up in the UK or be a part of that. I mean, Noah and I, we talk about this in regards to how you are treated by the police, and, you know, they understand that they work for you and not vice versa. So for me growing up, I never kind of was in that position. And obviously America and UK is completely different when it comes to policing. And for me, I never was ever in a position where when I needed the police, they didn't help me. Whenever I've needed the police, they've helped me in every aspect to the law, and they've done it with grace. So I really can't say in regards to my experience about bad police and so on and so forth. But when I see what goes on in the States, I have no words. I really have no words. It's just utter craziness that you see this. And it's not once or twice, it's on a daily. So you can imagine going back to the 80s when phones weren't around. Yeah. When Black people were saying, this is how it is. And they're like, you're just talking. It's like, people are getting caught up because there's phones. So you imagine all the stuff that used to happen back in the day that wasn't documented. But the worst thing about it is, you know, all these people, it's good and bad because you see all these people coming out of the woodwork. Now, to be honest with you, I'd rather know that I can see a racist head on than an underlined racist, because they're the worst. It's like, I see you as a racist, you don't like me, I don't like you, let's keep it moving. But it's the underlying racism that, the people that are behind your back that are trying to get you, those ones are the problem, you know what I mean? But in regards to the States, man, I honestly, I have no words, man. I really do. And I have very, very fond memories of being in the States. I've lived in the States for about a year, and I lived in Lake Placid, and that is as redneck as you possibly can get. And I got shown nothing but love out there, So my perspective of how I view America then to now is two different parts. It really is. But in regards to what's going on right now, I have no words, and I've never lived through that. I mean, I'm sure Noah's got more of a story to tell and more of a personal thing to say on this. But for me personally, it's just like, I have no words, man. Really, honestly. I'm just sickened on a day-to-day basis in it, and it gets me that the fact that this happens and it goes on, even though they try to do police reform and all the stuff that's gone on in the last few weeks, it still hasn't made a difference. It's as if it's getting worse, and what can you say? You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm just really, really shocked. I really am.
Noah?
Yeah, that's a loaded ass question. I think that one, Black folks need to be real careful of their environmental conditioning. What our mental diet is, what we allow ourselves to absorb on the daily. And I think on so many angles, Black folk got to do, as a community, we have so much work to do, from internal and external. We got a lot of healing and a lot of building. We got a lot of fucking therapy that we need. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many levels to what it takes to get something to like an even comprehensible, conversation or moment. We're dealing with it right now on both ends, and we're seeing it for the first time really out, really genuinely stripped back, stripped away, where we're seeing the political and the systemic angle, where it's now no longer, deniable. It really is clearly is not, because it can get documented, right? So there's no more like crazy nigga. That's not a thing, right? But on the same note, like, we still killing ourselves. We still killing each other. Like, what the fuck? What in the fuck? So I think there's such a line that we. It's hard, yo. And I mean, the way that I deal with it is that I disattach, because I don't feel like America owes me shit. Right? Like, I don't, it's land. Like, can we, like, this is me, right? And I'm from like, I'm pretty American on one side. So my background is mixed, right? I'm Jewish. I have a white mother who's Jewish, Ashkenazi, from New York, probably about, 10 generations back. Like, my great-grandfather was born on Orchard Street, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then my father's side is from down south Georgia, right? Like, old bootleggers, like, making, you know what I'm saying? Making that drink in the back of the house, selling it. So it's iconically American, right? So from sharecropper to, bootlegger, moving up to New York, literally from Georgia. My grandmother, who couldn't read and write, had 8 children, projects, 3-bedroom, so like on that end. And then the other side is this like hardcore Jewish, sharing coals with each other, heating up their apartment, on the correct line of the redlining so they could get loans, got a house, So there's this real old school history for me when I look at America. I was in the military for almost 5 years, so I find myself to be a true patriot, right? And an American, but I still don't think America owes me shit. Like, I'm not fighting for this shit. I'm out. It's an economic war. Bodies equal money. Like, understand the game. If you leave the system and you interject your income into something else, it weakens it. So, like, what are we doing? What are we fighting for? I understand not everybody has the privilege to just uproot themselves and go, right? Nor the want. Some people have a different mentality than me. But the way that I deal with it, because I'll be dead. I would be dead. And living in the States, I don't have that. I don't have that intellect to be calm at those moments. Yeah. So, and my father thanks me every day for leaving. Right? My father is 70. He's 69, he was born in 1951. He was from a very different era. You know what I'm saying? He is this old school, iconically Black American male with all of the glorious trimmings that you get with it. And it's like, he couldn't be happier that I'm not there. And that speaks fucking volumes. Right? Like, I'm happy that you have, and I think we have to understand, right? Like, most Blacks come from the South. You know, now it's a 3-hour plane ride, but before it was like a week, a month journey, right?
Right.
And not even that long, it was a week journey, like just getting up here.
Right.
So tell me what the difference is of flying in a plane 7 hours to change your environment. Why is that so crazy? Because that's how far Europe is. That's how far Africa, a chunk of Africa. That's how, like, it's not that far.
Right.
So for me, it's also like, we are people of movement. You know, there's that saying that, you know, Black Americans are, you know, don't really have a home, right? Like, we're not accepted in our own homeland. We're still called African Americans. We don't call white people European Americans, right? Like, it's on fundamental. It's so the language, and so I think it's just too far led astray for me to be like, oh, I'm fighting this for my kids. Nah, you're bugging. I'm going to a spot where my kids are safe. I'm not playing this game with y'all. My money's going to a different evil. Let's refocus here. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because there's no like ideal space. It's just what you choose that you think that fits your moral standards and the patience that you can kind of adjust to. It might be Mexico City. It might be Hawaii. It might be wherever. But I think we need to also think bigger, right? You know, and then if you're not going anywhere, look at the Blacks' financial power. We are $1 trillion machine. You know what I'm saying? We do not use it. We do not ask for anything. We do not demand for anything for our financial vote. We just carry on and consume as we are told. You know, we got fucking Yeezy. We made him a billionaire. We can't get him to shut the fuck up. Like, are you kidding me? Like, on some basic shit. Not let's attack Nike and tell Apple we're not buying them for a week until you do this. Like, that's right. Like, it's just so amazing to me. So I don't have the patience for that shit. Maybe if I'm healthy, I get a good 80 years. Nah, I got to make a pivot. My kids, nope. They're not doing that. I'm not dealing with a phone call. Yo, Dad, I pulled over. The cops was following me for like the last 5 miles. I just pulled over. I'm in a Dairy Queen. I'm not doing none of that fucking work, right? Like, I'm not up for it. I'm not playing the game with y'all. Fuck that. Cancel that Christmas. I'm not coming home.
I'm curious, how many kids do you have?
I have 2.
And boy and a girl, son?
I have a son that's 8 and a daughter that's 4.
And Tony, how do you have children?
Yeah, I have a boy that's 15, going to be 16 next year, and I've got a 13-year-old who's going to be 14 pretty soon.
You just saw his big-ass son walk behind him.
And so I was thinking about what you both were saying, and particularly Noah, obviously, because you're the American in the space. And one of the things that often comes up, even if people move, as you know, people move for a variety of reasons. But one of the things but I think is absolutely fascinating, particularly with Black folks who move, particularly Black Americans, is those who have children go, you know what, even if I don't like where I am, the peace that some of them feel where their kids are, they're like, I probably would have not chosen this place, but the fact that I'm in some part of Europe or I'm in some part of Africa or whatever, it's that piece. And I'm just curious, like, you know, and Tony, you could definitely jump in. And I know that even though you aren't American, but what is then the relationship that you see that your children have with both of the places y'all grew up?
Well, I'll go off on that one. So for me, I love London born and bred. I'm, you know, to the core, East London to the core. I rep that till I die. But I don't want my kids growing up there. As much as I loved it and appreciated it, and it made me the person that I am today, I want better for my kids. And moving, especially to here, was a very, very calculated move. I mean, for me, my wife is Dutch, so it was a better transition for most. I'm very lucky that I have a great extended family here. We all get on. And the fact that I don't have to worry to an extent that what my son is doing or where my son is or who he's with or what he's going to get himself into. That was my main concern about everything, because you got to remember, as soon as you have kids, it ain't about you anymore. It's about your kids. I want to know that I can provide for my kids and put them in a safe environment and give them more than what I had. And hopefully that breaks the cycle, and then every generation can be able to do that. From, I grew up council estate till I left. I have no issues with that. I don't want my kids growing up in a council estate. Personally, for me, nothing wrong with that. But I want to break that cycle. My kids only know me as a homeowner. So when they leave, they become a homeowner.
Gotcha.
Economics. And then it breaks the cycle. Then they know that we own businesses. Breaks the cycle. I need to own a business. That doesn't necessarily mean you have to, but it just shows that it's possible. There's a possibility. I've come from another country here and achieved this. There isn't any reason why you can't do better than what I've done and achieve much more than they. So for me personally, yes, I love London. I love going out, but I love the fact that my kids can go here for, riding freely. They necessarily don't have a curfew. My daughter's 13. She tells me, Dad, I want to go to a party. What time's the party until? It's until midnight. Here are the rules. Don't bust those rules. If you break those rules, this shit ain't happening again. And she can move freely. I come pick her up, I drop her off, whatever. Same for my son. My son says to me, Dad, I want to go. What time? Yeah, I don't know, 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight. Good. You know the rules. I'll come scoop you up. Break those rules. You know the consequences. I don't have to worry because I know he's in a safe environment. I know that there isn't anything out there that is looking to do him harm as it would do in the UK. It's like, walking anywhere at night in the UK, doesn't matter what part of the UK you're at, you got to have your wits about you. And not to say because we're here, things are rosy. No, I still have that UK mentality. That would never, ever leave me, even though I know that we're very fortunate where we live and, there isn't that much crime. I live in the suburbs, if you will. I know shit ain't going to happen. I'm one of the only 2 black people in my village. I'm fine with that because I've broken that cycle. And the reason why I did that is for my kids. It ain't about me. I'm good. I've lived a happy life till now. If I can see my kids graduate, do their thing, and I leave this earth, I'm good. But I did this just for my kids so they can understand and know what's going on in this world. And as far as London, the attachment to that is, I still have a big family there. My kids can move freely. So if they ever decide that they want to kick it from here and move to the UK, I've got my peoples in the UK that can look after them. So I'm good on that side as well,
Gotcha. Noah?
Yeah. So my story is obviously different when it comes to that. My children were born here, so they only know this. They were born, a mile away from our house right now. So my son and daughter only look at America as some place you go on vacation as. And that's probably what it will stay as. It's not, I don't find they will understand history of America, of us as a people. But my wife is she's from New York. She's from Brooklyn. So a Dominican Haitian woman from Brooklyn, right? So we came here together 13 years ago. I missed half of Bush, all of Obama, all of Trump, basically. So I'm quite happily detached in my own reality from America at this point. You know what I'm saying? And I visited like every 2 years. So I'm not really, I don't know. I was born and raised in New York. So it's not going anywhere inside of me. It's there forever. You can't kill that. You know, you can't shake that.
That accent's still there, so it ain't going anywhere for anything.
That shit ain't
Right. So you can't change. That's part of, right? Isn't that just part of you at this point? Like, I'm 43. That's just who you are. So I think my kids, I don't require them to be New Yorkers. I really don't. I want them to be global citizens. I want them to, you know, like they feel like, oh, boom, we hit New York this summer. But actually, we're going to go hit Paris and go to the Louvre. And then we're going to go, you know what I'm saying, see Mona Lisa and see, you know, some Venus de Milo. And then we're going to go down to Nice and chill in Nice. Like, fuck, you know what I'm saying, Maryland, fuck that. Like, so I just think like we can do better. I can do better. I'm going to try to do better for them. And you know what? My parents murdered it. I think they did a brilliant job as like providing me with experiences but why would I not take advantage of that? If they did that for me and they showed me that world, why would I not go twice as far, right? Like, yeah. You know, and I think that's almost like a responsibility, right? Like my grandmother came up from Atlanta. Mm-hmm. She hustled, went through, I don't even know what, you know what I'm saying? Like in the 40s and 50s, having 8 children. And it's like the least I owe to all of that struggle and hustle and grind and gristle is like, keep it moving. Mm-hmm. Like, keep that shit moving. Are you trying to tell me that my grandmother or my great-grandmother wouldn't be like, no, yeah, get the fuck out of America. Go do your thing. After all the pain we done been through, go. Mm. You know, it's so interesting. I wonder, you know, if you want to hear some deep shit, a deep question, I wonder if we could ask like a slave, right, 4 generations back, if they were like, you want to stay for this country and fight for it, or you want me to bring you over to Europe? Mm. Right? Or the artists of the 50s, right? Like a James Baldwin even, going that far back.
Right.
If we asked them, like, so what would you rather? You rather be down here, you want to live down in Alabama, or you want me to drop you off in France? Right. I don't know if that narrative has changed for maybe just people who think different. Right. There's a freedom you're allotted out here. Like, it's just different. And I know it sounds so pedestrian of me being like, it's different, but the energy is, you know, racism is economic. It's not violent. So it's like, yo, let's count our ones, shall we? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's count up, because I've been grinding. Yeah. So I think that's what it allows you. You can just carry on. There is no, and I agree. Tony said the statement where it's like, you know, I don't allow myself to be racially stereotyped or put myself in that mind frame, right? And I'm gonna be dead ass. Like, I'm so hyper conscious of it that still, right? I'm a grown ass man. I've been here for a long ass time, and I walk through a store and I still do the thing to be like, yo, let's make sure that they not thinking that I'm stealing shit. And I check myself. I'm like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, use your logic, use your general math to be like, how many times have you been stopped for stealing something? Not when you was 15 and you was stealing some shit. I'm talking about as a grown man, how many times have you been stopped by somebody? It's oddly low. So it's like, we also have to recondition ourselves in a certain way as well, right? Now, I can have the privilege because I'm saying that over here. That's not the case in America, right? Because you could think as much as you want, fuck around, you just walk out the store and get shot in your chest. So it also allows you to have a different mentality. So I think that's a big part, right? Like that mental conditioning, like I started off with, and I'm hyper conscious of it. I'm so conscious of it now. It's almost like a pastime, right? We just said it. Remember we were talking about black money? Mm-hmm. That fucking narrative of like black cat, black guy, black, and it was like, you know, under the table it's called black money, and legal money is called white money. It's like, come on, man. Like, this is so much like underlying just like self-hate, little funny little off fucked up narratives that make you feel, and it's like, it's your language, it's your buying power, it's everything. It's everything. And it's worth just being as conscious as you can about it and making sure your business and your family and everything else is how you want it, you know? And I don't know, it feels like this place allows me to do that.
It allows you to breathe easily. That's what it is.
Yeah, it does.
You know, I was struck by what you were saying because as someone who clearly is currently in the US, I think one of the challenges is it's sort of like you breathe the air and then when you step out and you realize that maybe the air doesn't always smell like that.
Right.
And I think, you know, for people who know me, one of the fortunate privileges I had was that as a young person, so as a middle schooler, high schooler, before I came to college, in my case, I grew up in a predominantly Black country. So I was born in the States and then went to Africa for like middle and high school and then came back. And so I think having breathed air from somewhere else and then coming in also changes your point, because I've always said when you get affirmed in who you are, and I like what Tony was talking about. Look, even when I go for a job, I know who I am. I do what I do, and I don't even let this idea of how I present, what my skin color is, really impact, you know, how I'm perceiving the process. I will always say, if you are affirmed in who you are, and especially if you're a minority, you are affirmed, it's almost like this armor you get where it kind of filters some of that air out. And so even in what you're saying is true. I think that what is a challenge for many of the Black expats I've talked to who are American is when you move to somewhere else, there's a lot of stuff, like you said, that you've got to recondition, uncondition, let go.
Word.
And you don't realize that until you go somewhere else. I was talking to a Black American woman who lives in Ghana, and she said, look, when people come to the continent for the first time, there's a lot of stuff people got to deal with emotionally, especially when they're coming for a heritage tour. Like,
I lived in Ghana.
They have to realize that they who have like soaked up, that they actually have to address. And if you haven't addressed it before, you're going to feel it. And so I love what you're saying about mental wellness, because you're right. Like, especially this year has been like thing after thing after thing. And the thing is, it's been the same things, but it's just that it's been so much. And because of COVID, we all at home.
You know what's important too with us as Black folks? We have to remember, if a Black person you know doesn't feel like doing shit about what's going on, they have every right to. Every day they wake up Black, they walk around Black, they deal with this shit. There's no forced hand. You're not allowed to say like, you're not being Black enough or pro, blah.
Right.
And we have to also be okay with that and not be mad. It's like, if you don't feel like doing shit except just waking up and trying to fucking survive, do your thing. You got that right.
Right.
And you're going to get as much respect for just showing up and not acting the ass and just doing your thing as somebody who is out on the streets pushing the narrative. It's like, that's also okay. Like, we have to be with just it, and it's a rough one. It's a harsh learning curve. You know what I'm saying? For brown folks right now, it's a mass amount of information we are taking in, and we have to file it correctly so it doesn't turn into this one big like hate, message. Because it that's going to weaken it, right? Hate is just going to weaken something. And it's a hard one, yo. It's because right now it feels like it's all against us, right? The narrative with media is so clear and it's so fucking well edited that we will go for anything right now to make us angry.
Right.
Because it's still bread and circus. Don't get that fucked up. It's still they're still doing bread and circus. It's not NFL anymore. It's just fucking protest riots, and it's still like business carries on. As we do all this shit, real business is still carrying on.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can still go get gas in your car, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is your water still working? You still got electricity?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. The business is still working. And after y'all finish burning down the city, somebody's going to get that contract and become another billionaire. Like, what in the fucking fuck? And I'm not saying, listen, I hope they burn everything down. Like, don't get that messed up neither. Like, protesting is appropriate. They're not listening when we on our knees, when we walking, when we quiet, so I try this. So I'm not against that at all. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, as a collective, if we're going to act like we're all saying or singing the same song, we really should learn to do so.
So with both of you being where you are, have there been protests anywhere near where you're living in Amsterdam or any other parts of the Netherlands?
Oh, they
had a couple.
They had a huge protest here. I'm actually surprised how many black people came out, to be honest with you, because I will be dead ass to tell you that black people don't support black people out here, man. I don't give a fuck. I'm saying it. They don't support out here. So I was surprised. I was surprised to see it. I mean, there are some movements out here. I mean, I know you know the whole Zwarte Piet, the black face. You know about that. So there is that goes on every year. But the problem I have with that is it rears its ugly head once a year. Everybody shouts about it. Everybody protests about it. As soon as it's over, let's wait for next year. It's not an ongoing. It's not a protest in my eyes. It's just basically shit happens. Oh, I'm not happy right now because this shit is happening. I've been coming back and forth here for many, 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 many years. It's only in the last couple of years that this Zwarte Piet kick-out racism has been really prominent. Mm-hmm. So my thing was, what the fuck were you doing 5, 6, 7 years ago? Because that shit's been around for a minute and it was in your fucking face.
Like in your face.
You go to there's this huge department store called the Buying Corp. They had these 2 figurines, 10 foot apiece, of these puppets in blackface climbing up this rope, and I'm like, what the fuck? And they just allow this shit to slide. So for me, it's like, if you're going to protest this, you got to protest it in the right way and you're going to be on it. Because if they had done this so for instance, it happens in December. So weeks leading up to that, people are out in protest. Oh, kick it out. It's like, no, why don't you not start that in the summertime? You know that shit coming. Keep that shit ongoing, because they would have got a lot.
Keep that energy, right? Keep that energy.
They would have got a lot more results, because then it's like, oh shit, the black people are out again, man. It's 2 weeks, it'll be over. We'll wait another year. It's just like, no, right. You're gonna protest about that shit. Keep that shit ongoing, because that's the only way the government listen. They're starting to listen now because of the nature of what's going on around the world.
Right.
That's why people are starting to listen now. But if the shit weren't evolving how it is right now, that shit would still fly.
Nope.
Don't get me wrong. Any boys out there that protesting, I know all you brothers out there protesting. I respect that. But my thing is as well, it's like, you do that shit a little earlier, man. Keep that shit on going. Keep that vibe going, man.
So you said something super funny. So not the event, but in terms of the number of black people. So in terms of movements, because obviously if you've got a reference point from the US, obviously with numbers, folks are loud and whatnot. But in terms of this, you were surprised how many black folks were out with the George Floyd situation in the Netherlands? Were you surprised?
Yeah, I really was. Like I said, I mean, there are a lot of guys that are on it and are protesting and they're fighting the cause and so on and so forth. But it's not something that I would normally do. I did it for a reason, and one of the main reasons I did it because my daughter wanted to go, and I was like, okay, you want to see how it breaks this, and it's about the situation that's going on. Let's go. So I took her there. So it was her first protest, and she obviously wanted to be there. She wanted to see what was going on. I was taken aback at how many people showed up. I was actually impressed.
Wow. A lot of people.
Yeah, a lot of people turned out, man. And it was and people listened.
It was peaceful. It was super peaceful.
People listened, and that's the thing. It was very, very peaceful. They got their point across. It was very, very orchestrated, and people listened.
Wow.
So it did its job. And then Rotterdam came out. Utrecht came, city to city came out. So I was impressed. I was really impressed. I was like, damn, I never knew this Netherlands had that many black people.
I love how we're always surprised when we see each other at protests or events and go, I'll see y'all at any other stuff, but this is big enough that we all got to be out in these streets. And
that's the first time I ever went to a protest in my life.
Yeah?
Likewise.
Yeah. I don't go to protests. I ain't doing that shit. I'm not. And I know it sounds so like, I'm being a hypocrite after all the shit I said, but it's like, that's not how I protest.
Yeah.
Right? Like, Biakorf, I'll give you an example. The Biakorf he was telling you about, the motherfuckers on the ropes with the blackface?
Yeah.
I have not gone in Biakorf to go shopping since I saw that shit about 9 years ago. I'm a boycott fanatic. Like, Tony knows me. I'll boycott. I'm like, so what? Oh, that's it. You ain't get my money no more. I'm done. Because money always, that's
Economics.
it.
Economics
That's
always.
That's it. There's nothing else. It's like, I will never use their services again. The moment that actually takes an effect, the people that registered, it's like, oh, wait a minute. Should we talk about it? It's like, no, motherfucker, you lost the moment. Over. So that's exactly how I boycott. Because I ain't got nothing to say. And come on, man. If all those people in that crowd said, we are never, or for the next month, we are not going to use Albert Heijn. That's like a Stop and Shop or a supermarket out here.
Yeah.
Albert Heijn would be like, what can we do for you guys? What would you like us to make it a commercial about? What do we need to be saying for you guys to come back shopping? They'll make a fuck Black Lives Matter, whatever. Anti-Sword to Pete commercial, whatever. So that's what it still is. And it's good to show numbers. It's good to show, people show up for shit for what they believe in. But it's like, you also can crack the system a bit better.
I mean, what you're saying is a throwback to when we look at the civil rights, 50s, 60s, right? All the boycotts. Like, how long did they say the bus boycotts in Montgomery? That went on for almost a year, right? Before, but it changed the system. And so I think there's something to be said about the strategic. I always worry, I've talked about this with some friends, I always worry, especially now that we document everything, we kind of have an Instagram generation. And so, doing it for the gram and, the t-shirts that people want to wear and the comments. And I keep thinking, yeah, but we got a lot more than just, I posted on Instagram next to this burning car. Because
and that's where the disconnect starts from. Because it's like, then why are we doing this? Are we doing this to look cool because everybody else is? Or are we doing this because we want to fight the injustice and we're doing this for a reason?
Yeah.
Or are we just doing this just because everybody else is doing it? So we're just following the bandwagon. And that's the thing, there's got to be a clear divide. If you're going to do that, it's like, make it purposeful.
Yeah.
So you're going to post on the gram. Make it as something that is epic. Don't just be like, yeah, it's me. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. I'm completely fascinated, Tony. So your daughter wanted to go out and protest and you were like, I'm going to go with her? Or what kind of sparked it for her?
Well, the thing with her is, and I'll give you a little slash of her. She's a very, very sweet girl in her ways. You wouldn't think it when you see her in person. And that's not to take anything away from her, but she has a really, really big heart in that respect. So 4 years ago, she said, Daddy, I don't like the fact that animals are being killed for food. I'm going to be a vegetarian. So I'm like, yeah, whatever. Okay, fine, no problem. First, so I'll backlog. So my wife has been vegetarian for about 28 years and vegan for the last 4. So that also had something. That's also had something to do with it as well. And very, 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 very strict. Has never ever strayed. So my daughter said, Dad, I want to be a vegetarian. So I'm like, okay, cool. We're pretty much a vegetarian household anyway. I said, okay, let's see. So first 5 days she did it. Then on the weekend she had some wings. And I was like, I'm proud. No, I'm proud of you because it's like you could have fucked the week.
Wings, man. That's the only thing keeping me from being vegetarian. vegetarian is wings. I've done giving up everything else but wings, Lord.
So that was her first week, and then second week till now, 4 years on, she hasn't touched one bit of meat, and she's very, very strict to the point where if she has chewing gum that has gelatin in it, she'll spit it out if she did that was in there. She's very, very strict. You know, she follows her heart, and she follows what she wants to do and does it to the letter. So she said to me, Dad, you know, I've been seeing what's going on in America. Can we please go protest? And firstly, I was like, no, I don't protest. That's not how I protest. I don't go crowds. And seeing as it's going to be so busy, you got the COVID thing going on. She said, Dad, come on, let's go. So I was like, okay, fine. Let's do it. And we went, and she was just in awe of the gathering, because obviously she knew the injustice of what and why there was a protest. I mean, honestly, she's 13. She's a smart kid. She knows what's going on in the world. So I was very proud of her that she wanted to go, you know. So we went, we stayed. She took it all in and was like, I'm glad I came. And I was like, I'm glad you got me to go out, because like Noah said, I've never gone on protest. I've never, you know, like we said earlier, I wake up every morning black, man. That's my I wake up morning black. I deal with my own struggles if I have them in my way. I don't allow anyone to control my narrative. I'll deal with it how I want to deal with it. So yeah, she was very happy. I was very, very proud of her. It was a very, very it's a liminal moment for her in her life. You know, she went back and told people that she'd gone to protest, and you know, I was happy that I was happy to do that. I was happy that I went, actually, to be honest with you.
Very cool. So I've got these are non-stressful questions, because I've been doing what I'm calling a lightning round at the end. Because we had some real heavy conversation for like the last 45 minutes. Right. And so, and I know that we're not going to, between the three of us, are not going to solve the racial situation that is the United States.
No, if we can help the cause on its way, then so be it. Right.
But I'm going to ask you some questions, and I would like both of you to tell me your responses. And it's first thing that comes to your mind. And if you want to explain, it'll be helpful. All right. First question. If you didn't live in the Netherlands, where would you go?
Portugal.
Okay. So Noah said Portugal. Why Portugal?
Well, Portugal or Costa Rica.
Okay. Why?
Portugal has on quick answer, has a good balance, socially, policies, health, so on and so forth. And it's really not that expensive to live, and it's coastal.
Okay. Costa
Rica is just fuck.
Costa Rica, because it's Costa Rica.
Also super balanced. Well, right. Like well governed. Like the only reason why we really wouldn't is just like climate change. I don't know what the timing of Costa Rica is like.
Right.
Real talk. Right?
Is it gonna be here 20 years? That's always the question.
Like all that fantasy shit, is it gonna get swallowed? And I invested all our money into living in Costa Rica, kicking it.
That's fair. Tony, what about you?
I would have said Thailand, but I'd have to go with Indonesia, Bali. Somewhere that's near and dear to my heart. Somewhere that I go pretty much every year for holiday, and it's a place that it feels like home to me, and I can just unwind, just chill, relax, don't have to worry about anything. And I love the weather, I love the climate, I love the food, I love the people. It's easy going. You don't have to worry about anything. It's safe as hell, So yeah, me, Indonesia all the way.
So the running theme with both of you is coastline, water somewhere.
Warm water.
Warm brown people.
Yeah. And it's full of brown
moderate amount of drugs is legal.
Okay. Second question. Favorite dish to make?
Oh shit. Probably sashimi. Anything raw, seafoody fish. I'm a pretty big raw fish guy.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Curry all the way, in any shape or form.
Yeah, Clyde.
Be it lamb, chicken, beef, pork, curry.
Curry or rice. I mean, if we really talking.
That's my staple. Rice is my staple.
That's my Steve.
It's my nemesis. Rice is my nemesis. Honestly.
I can't stand rice.
Really?
Nah, man, I'm a Jewish kid from New York.
Wow.
Listen,
in the morning get fucked up. Like we don't, and we eat soul food from like down south. It's not rice heavy.
No, that's fair. That's fair.
So like nowhere in more cultures of America did rice get really pushed.
That's fair.
Funny, right?
That's fair.
It was like matzo and like corn. Like those are. Yeah, I'm dead ass. Like
No,
it was like matzo, like that was on one side, and then like corn or flour. It wasn't,
right.
There was, yeah.
You know, the one thing that just sort of weirds me out because it's just not in a lot of West African diets. Cheese.
Yes.
We don't do a lot of like my family's my family's always perplexed when the cheese shows up because they're like, this is not. Yeah, they're like, what do we do?
It's foreign. It's foreign. Yeah.
And we don't, and even like we don't even eat like sandwiches. Like when I was a kid, I told this to someone, when mom and dad are packing the lunches, everybody's got their little, like sandwiches make no sense to me even as an adult. I would have like jollof rice or okra soup and like fufu. Like I would have African meals. And so
listen, I wish I could have brought that to school.
Because sandwiches, I'm like, why are we having sandwiches? So yeah, so you're talking about rice, and I'm thinking. We had a lot of rice, but I could see it if something's not part of your food culture.
Yeah, no, you just don't do it. No,
even now.
I eat about 5 kilos of rice a week. Easily.
Listen, unless I'm making sushi, I'm not fucking with no rice.
Wow.
I just don't, right? Like,
yeah.
Because I love Japanese food. I lived in Japan for like 2.5 years. So
yeah.
In general, I have. So this sushi gets made in the house at least once a week.
What's the one thing that, in terms of cuisine, what's the one cuisine that you would love to master that you haven't already?
Soul food.
For real?
I'm dead ass.
Really?
Word. Fuck all that other shit.
No, but I wouldn't have thought that.
I'll go in on that one because that's the thing. Soul food is put into a pocket, put into a bracket, and it's like there's so much more to it. Because
word.
Yeah, okay.
When somebody says to you soul food, you consider down South American food, but we from the islands, we eat soul food. So you combine those two, you ain't playing.
Oh.
Yeah, man.
Definitely. I'll agree with that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so what? French food? Nah, that's just boring. We did that for years, right? Like that's our background. Like Michelin French food.
Yeah.
Right? Like nouveau French. So Japanese, super dope, but I'm not really that anal retentive or OCD, so I probably wouldn't get it right because you got to be on some real, like repetitive, and I have a limit to that. So for me, it's more like what's the most, you just said it, right? When you eat a plate of food, you could have said anything. You are bi-coastal, bi-continental, you could have said McDonald's, BBQ, fufu. You decided to say fufu and it's right, and an okra soup, and that's super regional specific. That's comfort food, that's nostalgia, it's filled with memories, right? So, and we've all had different levels of like good soul food, right? Like where it's acceptable, where it's like fucking Popeyes, right? Yeah. Where that's the thing soul food is. But then work, right?
Right.
But then you get into a different bracket. Like I lived in Ghana for a year, right? Mm-hmm. I went to school out there. I lived in Accra, and my mother just brought me out there to make sure I had a proper definition of what black was. Mm-hmm. Because I was 15 in New York. I had this real skewed view of what being a black man was. And she was like, and not that my father wasn't super, super crazy over the top in my life, still is. Mm-hmm. She was talking about as a group, right? Like how you think you are perceived. She was like, let's go to Africa where everyone is Black so you can get a quick reality check.
Yeah.
And we had family friends over there. So we just lived with them for a year. And it was like eating that food was like, well, this is also soul food. Like all of these techniques, all of the ingredients, okra, fried fish, stewed tomatoes, right? Like pounded yam, fried yam. This is just down south food, like Southern Hemisphere. So it's like, I would love to master that because remember, that shit is what's being lost. French cuisine isn't ever going to get lost.
Right.
Italian cuisine, Portuguese, fucking none of that shit is ever going to go anywhere. Documented, and it's practiced and refined. Soul food, on the other hand, you have a handful of people who are doing progressive, kind of equator-based, cuisine. And it's like, that's what we have to start to cherish, I think, a bit more. So if you ask me if I could wave a wand, it would be that, for sure.
That might be y'all's next project, because I always think about documenting Black and brown food particular. And so this is super funny. I've said this in an interview.
Tony.
I said this in an interview before, but when I left Cameroon, came to US for college, and this girl told me she had a mortar and a pestle. And I was like excited because as a kid, a mortar and pestle is this big on the floor, pound, right? For yams, right? And for you're mashing something. And a lot of people don't realize this, but even with the slave trade, folks who knew how to pound rice because they used mortar and pestle, that's how people got distributed throughout the South, but whatever. Anyway, so she said she had a mortar and pestle, and she brought this little thing, and I looked at her, and and it was for spices, right? And I looked at her and said, nah, man, when you said mortar and pestle, I thought we were going to pound some yams up in here. But I realized, like, the older I get, that food, the way my grandmother taught me how to cook it, and I mean, like, outside on the, no gadgets whatsoever. To this day, even when I cook, I use very little gadgets because I'm like, my grandmother taught me how to make this from by hand. I don't want to use all this other stuff because that doesn't taste the same way. So that's soul food for me, to what you were saying. You know?
So there's this connective tissue that threads through us, right? That we all feel and we all find comfort in. And I think that shit needs to get a bit more celebrated and organized. And it's funny you say that, is it the next project? Because before Corona came, Tony and I had a restaurant concept called Heritage that we wanted to do. And it was basically a restaurant based off nostalgic cuisine. So basically food memories, refined, brought to a level, but based off of like our upbringing. Yeah. So Tony has heavy, right, heavy Caribbean and British. Also, but that's just home, but then also trained classically French.
Yeah.
So, and then I had this Jewish American, Black American, and then also trained in like New American, Nouveau French. So you had a real melting pot of kind of food. And we were like, no, let's just do the items that we love, but then let's actually look at them and really make them into something incredible, but keep and find that like old nostalgic, food memory that we had from it. Because a lot of the times the food that we make that's nostalgic is quite messy and it's not really
home food.
It's yummy. Yeah. You're just eating. It's not for looks, right? But there's a medium to that where you can make that into something that people can find visually appealing and also in a setting, and it fits the prescription of going out for evening to dinner. So that was kind of the concept that we still hold actually pretty dear to ourselves. But yeah, it was we wanted a real upscale, kind of like brasserie that was dedicated to just like all nostalgic, cultural, food memories. So
you're saying this. Is it gonna come to fruition?
Well, no, we're in Corona. It's the worst time in the world.
Well, I know. Well, I'm just saying post-Corona, because I guarantee you someone's gonna call me and be like, "We heard this. Where's this happening?"
No one's ever scared to open a restaurant over here. Like, we're always game. But yeah, we really have to weather this storm out, and we luckily enough, we really do have enough right now to keep us busy.
Yeah.
So I think we've learned to pace stuff, right? Like keep your idea basket full of real shit you can pull off, and like when it's the time for that concept to, kind of fall into place, it normally does, right, Tone? Like we're lucky for that.
Yeah, I'm really sorry, guys. Just getting a really bad connection. So if you don't hear me,
we can hear you.
Keeps on freezing. Oh, you can.
We totally can hear
Yeah,
you.
we can hear you just fine.
You sound great.
It just kept on freezing. It looked like I was just laying dormant.
Nah, you're good. You're good. We can hear you fine.
Well, now y'all kind of led me to lightning question 2B, which is, so I heard all y'all's answers to like, what's your favorite dish? But now I'm real curious, what is your favorite comfort food? And is it different?
Nope, curry.
Okay.
Anything with rice, to be honest with you. I'm a one-pot man. Really, I'm really... like, when you see me eat at home...
I'm random.
My wife looks at me sometimes like, really? Like, I will put everything in a pot. I don't care. And that shit has got to be microwave scorching hot.
Oh, no.
Because I eat my food quick. I got to savor that. I got to savor that, man. Yeah, man. I was a greedy kid. Honestly. The problem that I have is if it's not that hot, man, I just got to eat more. So it's got to be scorching, so I take my time, really.
That's hilarious.
I wouldn't go like that.
Didn't expect that answer. Noah, would your answer change if it's comfort food?
Man, what's comfort food at this point?
I don't know. What is it for you?
I don't either. Everything's so fucking accessible. It's like, I don't even know if I have comfort food anymore. Maybe it's sushi. But like also, I don't know, yo, food is moving to me. Yeah, I'm an emotional eater, you know what I'm saying? Like I have, I ain't even gonna front, you know what I mean? Like I have days where I'm like, I need a meatball parmesan or a chicken parmesan wedge. Like that's my comfort food. So growing up, dig this. So growing up, when I'd get sick and have to stay home from school, my father would bring me a meatball parmesan hoagie, right, or hero, whatever we're calling it, a wedge, a ginger ale and rainbow sherbet, right?
Okay.
And that, I'm dead ass. That was just like, the get well food, right? So but so that's nostalgic. But then like on Sundays, I went to grandma's house and had my father's mother and had like a huge buffet of soul food, right? But then Saturday morning, I was at my Jewish grandmother's house having like bagel and lox and cream cheese. So it's all very like what comfort food, what I'm feeling. I don't have. It's weird, and it's funny because Tony actually and yourself, you have a very clear like heritage path for like what your comfort food is. There's no like there's shit that Tony likes because he grew up in East London, but at home it's real. Like, nah, this is what I'm fucking with. And for you, I would imagine the same, right? But because it's like, I think that because there's two different hardcore American cultures that both have their own stand and exhibit them really freely in food where you can go get it, all of that falls under comfort food. I think it's strange. So I don't know if I have a particular one.
That's fair.
Right? Because I'll fuck up some hot wings too. Like,
look. I mean, hot wings are baseline. But I will say the African in me, fried plantains, ride or die, always.
Right. So like my wife is totally different because she's Dominican, right? So like hers is rice with a fried egg and onions on top. Like
I can see that.
And it's like her go-to. Like if she doesn't want to do anything and just like boom, I'm messing with that, and then maybe some fried yuca or steamed yuca on the side.
Yeah.
So like so you're like, yeah, you can't give me that shit.
You're missing the hot sauce, though.
Right,
you get the hot sauce.
Yeah, she's Dominican. Dominican people don't eat spicy food. You forget.
See, and we are the other. My family's the other extreme. We love spicy food. They only.
Tell me about it.
They have it. They have it on the side now because I have one of my nieces is really young, so they don't want to burn her tongue off. But when they're making that sauce on the side in the house, you got to open all the windows because they are frying the habaneros and like they ready.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one. Yeah, I love to be. I love these sauce, man.
You can't breathe in, but you can eat.
Yes, you can. Look.
That don't even make no sense.
You know what? On one of your trips, when you come to these United States, I will take you to Richmond, Virginia. You go get yourself all the way messed up.
You got to come over here, man. You got to come visit here, man. You got to come over here. Yeah.
No, I can't do it. I force myself now to eat hot food because Jewish American people don't eat hot food.
I know. I'm like, that side's kind of winning on the
that's not rice. Also, I think that goes together. If rice is in the picture, spice is in the picture. And if that's out, that's also out. But for real, I can't. If you gave me rice, eggs, and hot sauce, it would sit there until I was like,
oh no,
for real fucking hungry. I can't do it. So that's what's right. So like, it's also. And funny enough, that's a Black experience in America, right? Like,
right?
Because I ain't the only one. Like, I know other Jewish Black people that's just like that.
No, my family, hot sauce, all that ain't hot enough. Like, for real. You got to feel it in your soul. Otherwise, you have not
I'm with you.
Spiced it properly. The fish, the chicken, whatever you roasted has to be like... There's got to be some ginger and some kick to it. So
I'm jealous of people who can taste through spice.
We mean taste through it. That's part of the experience.
Right, because it's not actually. A chicken isn't born with a habanero rubbed on it, so it's not part of it.
It's not a dish.
Yeah, like it's like saying the chicken is salty and you can taste the chicken through the salt or the right. Like I'm impressed because I have a ceiling where as soon as it gets too spicy. All I taste is meat, and I could just be eating like rubber or cardboard. It doesn't matter actually at that point.
You shut it down.
So I'm impressed with motherfucker. Like Tony will taste hot sauce, and he'll be like, "Oh yeah, would you put some da da da?" I'm like, "Motherfucker, what are you tasting? like what are you sweet? What is sweet? Like, there's no variance after a point. So I'm impressed with that. But,
look, all right. So I know what person I'm gonna mess with the hot sauce. And the hot foods.
Definitely.
All right, last question. If you were not in hospitality, what would you be doing?
We'd own an app.
Okay.
I would say athlete. I would say 100-meter sprinter.
Really?
Yeah. Not many people could beat me back in the day when I was a kid, man.
Oh, Lord. He said back in the day. He didn't say currently.
I used to run track in dress shoes, man. Don't run track in dress shoes. Don't play. I was fast.
Wow. I mean,
I think I'd be a farmer in real life.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think I'd be a farmer. I love working outdoors like that, and I love producing something from nothing. Like, absolutely. I think I'd be a farmer.
It's never too late.
Not too late.
Oh, no.
It's not too late. I'm just not doing it in place cold. So
yeah.
I'm going to have to wait until I'm in the retiring time, and I'll fucks with a garden.
Okay.
I'm not going out in the fall and winter and shit.
Tony, you serious about that sprinting?
Yeah, I'll tell you, man, I was a contender back in the day. Tell you, man.
Do you still run?
No, man, my knees are fucked.
Well,
Nah.
Not even.
I could sprint a little, but I'm going to sit down after that, man. My knees are gone.
Not even a light jog.
Nah.
No.
Nah.
Hell no. Not even an emergency sprint.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, if somebody's chasing me, man, you got me. I ain't even going to try.
I'm going to just call an Uber. That's what I do.
Nah.
Call an Uber.
Nah. I'm good. I'll just sit this one out.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you guys for what has been and what I knew was going to be a really entertaining discussion on a whole bunch of things. And I know that everyone's going to appreciate kind of hearing some of y'all's thoughts and what you've been up to. So thank you tremendously for coming on.
You got it. My pleasure.
Yes,
I was about to say our pleasure. For the group.
Yes. Thank you for having us. Yeah.
The Global Chatter from the Black Expat is hosted by me, Amanda Bates. It is executive produced by Justin Williams. You can find all episodes of The Global Chatter on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you listen to your podcast.